Hi there, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Ask the Expert North Texas. I'm Kristen Diaz.
I'm David Rankin. There are a couple of Grinches in the works when it comes to making it a Merry Christmas for most families: inflation and their jobs. The cost for Christmas is soaring this year, and it just costs more to buy Christmas gifts for the family. A third of families say they want to be as generous, but just can't afford to. The average person looks to spend about $867 this Christmas. That's less than expected just 2 months ago. That can lead to a lot of people going into more debt. Study finds 32% of parents say money is just too tight. On today's Ask the Expert, we're joined by Allmand. He is an expert in personal debt from the Allmand law firm. He is in the KRLD Zoom room. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks for having me.
So how dangerous is it to add on more debt for Christmas? There's going to be a lot of sticker shock in January when the bills come due.
Right. Every year that does seem to happen. A lot of people want to provide for a good Christmas for their family and their kids, but oftentimes the fine print escapes them, and sometimes the high interest rates, the late charges, those things can pile up. And if you have something unexpected happen, like a job loss or reduction in hours, it could spell disaster for a lot of families.
Yeah, the fear of getting into debt for the holiday, it seems like it doesn't matter what the economy is, that fear is always going to linger because we have so many people in our lives that we want to, impress with our decorations and spend for, that perfect gift. How do we, though, kind of be smart about how the economy is, what our personal finances are, and still be able to give?
I think the number one thing is to make sure you do a budget. There's some apps out there that can help you with that, where you can link your bank accounts and kind of see where your spending is going. I see that with a lot of my clients is they just really don't know how much they're spending for what items. So then they'll be able to understand what kind of payments they could afford. And then also, trying to think about things that maybe are experiences or other things they can do with their family or that they're already planning that they could potentially wrap up and give away. For example, we were planning to take our kids to the Grand Canyon for spring break. And so we did a print up for that, a color picture, put it in a box, wrapped it up, and then had our kids unwrap that as a family present. And so it's something we're planning to do anyway, but it's not going to, raise the bills right there in December.
Do kids really understand the need for something like this? A lot of kids just want to see a lot of presents under the tree.
I do think it's smart to talk to your kids about money and to let them understand, what it's like to have a budget, get them going with some chores and allowance, set up their own bank account so that they can get a feel for, how things are going. I know some friends who've took their kids to Disneyland and then they gave their kids a set amount of cash, and it really made them think a lot about what they're asking for, because they know they may want to wait and get that one thing because they're on a fixed amount of income.
I love that perspective. But, sometimes adults, we try to think that we know better than the kids, but sometimes we are lost. Some people will spend no matter what their financial situation is. They think I literally heard somebody tell me that their daughter told them this: I don't feel it. As long as I get what I need and what I want, I'll put it on the credit card. I don't feel it. There's something about tangible money versus just keep swiping or online shopping, isn't there, that puts us in more debt than usual?
Right. Those introductory offers where it's like 0% interest or no payments for 60 days. And so there doesn't feel any pain at the point of purchase. But eventually it does catch up, and it can lead to a lot of stress and anxiety and jeopardizing things that you really don't want to jeopardize, like your car and your house and things like that. And that's really when you need to, seek professional guidance if you're facing serious loss of something important like a house or a car.
Do people just not understand what they're doing when they get credit cards? They don't necessarily understand interest rates and minimum payments and things like that.
Honestly, I think most of the clients that I see, they were able to budget and make the minimum payments, but there's a triggering event that happens. There's a job loss, there's an unexpected illness, there's a divorce, there's some type of life event that they weren't planning for that then when that happens, there's not the savings, there's not the cushion. They are stretched paycheck to paycheck. And if they have an interruption, it can spell disaster.
We have been hearing about a lot of layoffs this time of year is usually when they happened, and it's never a good time, but it's even worse when you know that you have upcoming expenses like the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
How do we prepare in those types of emergencies? What's the best like rule of thumb you can give people if they ever find themselves in that situation?
I would say, one of the things about doing what I do for a living, it definitely humbles you and lets you know that you see people from all walks of life, and nobody's immune to financial difficulties. And really to take that in mind before you're having the triggering event, and try to see like, what can I safely put aside for that rainy day fund, so that I will have, ideally you want to have at least 3 months, preferably 6 months of savings to cover your normal bills, so that when there's some type of interruption like that, it's not going to, really destroy things and put things at jeopardy of being repossessed or foreclosed on.
You bring up the subject of savings. A lot of people over the last couple of years have managed to put money into their savings accounts because of the pandemic and working from home. Are those people then digging into that savings to make it Christmas without having to go into too much debt?
It looks like that, because our numbers, during COVID, the number of people seeking bankruptcy reduced quite a bit. And we did see that people were reducing their debt, they were saving. But now I think really it seems like the triggering factor of inflation, where, common shopping items are now 2 or 3 times as much as what they used to be, but wages have not doubled or tripled. And that is something really that you can't plan for, that is impacting a lot of people and causing that, that hardship right now.
Can I ask you this? And I know this is your profession, and I wasn't trying to make this a commercial, but how important is it that if people really do need help, and maybe self-help, like going online and finding some of these free, budget tips, and that if it doesn't work for them, they need somebody to really like hold their hand and walk them through this, how expensive can financial help be for someone, and how beneficial is it in the long run?
Right. That's a common question that I get, is like, if people are facing bankruptcy, how do they afford, to file or pay the attorney's fees? The truth is that a lot of times they're paying for things that we're actually able to restructure for them so that they don't have to pay it. And we go through the budget and see like, okay, we're going to be able to free up some resources here. We're going to be able to skip this payment and put you into a different kind of, bankruptcy related payment plan. For example, sometimes we're able to take cars and push down the amount that you owe and have it just equal the value at a reduced interest rate. So that frees up extra revenue. There's lots of, tricks of the trade and things that people don't really know about because they don't do it every day or for a living, that allow us to get those resources together so that they can fund the bankruptcy, and also payment plans for people that make it affordable.
Back to Christmas shopping just for 1 second. What's a realistic time frame to pay off Christmas debt before it gets you into trouble?
Right. So I think you obviously, if you're getting any kind of introductory offers or 0% interest, try to stick to those. Try to be very diligent, because if you do make a payment late or something, then all that back interest is going to recalculate. So if you do have those offers, take advantage of them, schedule those out in advance through your debit card or through your bank draft. And then also the rest of it, try to make sure that you're, getting it taken care of, or taking on debt that you get paid off within a year is a good rule of thumb, so that you're not going to be carrying that over to the following year.
Reed Allmand is a personal debt expert from the Allmand Law Firm. Reed, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us.
Thanks for having me.